Hey everyone, Pastor Nat from Back to the Bible, and you are joining us on Win the Day. Today we're going to talk about winning the inner war. Envy and fighting are the norms in the life of a child. A kid will see a toy that they want, so they take it. Well, the other child? They push the kid, they grab their toy, and they run away. Now, we see it over toys, we can see it over food, we see it over smartphones. The list just goes on. But I think if we're honest, it's not really just a kid problem. It's an us problem too. What am I talking about? Let's keep putting faith in real life by turning back to James in chapter 4, beginning in verse 1. What is the source of wars and fighting among you? Don't they come from your passions that wage war within you? You desire, and you do not have. You murder and covet and cannot obtain. You fight and wage war. You do not have because you do not ask. You ask and don't receive because you ask with wrong motives so that you may spend it on your pleasures. In case you missed last week or forgot what Jacob covered, James has been discussing the power of our words. He's covered wise living and, of course, the danger of envy and selfish ambition. So James is continuing that thought here. He says, what is the source of wars and fighting among you? Now, fighting and conflicts are everywhere, even in the Christian community. But where do these battles come from? Well, here James asks a rhetorical question. Aren't they driven by your own passions within you? We need to remember that at the core of virtually all sins is pride and selfishness. Adam and Eve sinned because of the inner sin of pride. They desired to be like God. They were not content with what God had provided, so they rebelled. Pride, envy, selfishness, they waged war within them. The same battle is ours today. James continues by saying, you desire and you do not have. You murder and covet and cannot obtain. Now, there's a lot of debate whether people were engaging in physical violence and murder because of these passions and desires. Hate to break it to you, but Christians are not incapable of such behavior. But regardless of physical, verbal, or emotional attacks, they're all wrong. So what is James' solution? He says, you do not have because you do not ask. Now, there is some debate as to what he means. I think at a minimum, James' point goes back to what he wrote in chapter 1, verse 5. James said, now if any of you lacks wisdom, he should ask God, who gives to all generously and ungrudgingly, and it will be given to him. I think this interpretation makes the most amount of sense. Because God is not a genie in a bottle. Yes, He is the good Father who provides our needs and many of our righteous wants. But He also knows what's best. So rather than struggle with pride, envy, and selfish ambition, we need to call out to God for wisdom and for that reformation of the heart. So here's my challenge for you today. How are you struggling with envy and pride? It's time to admit it to God and ask Him for wisdom on how to change our thinking. Today, ask Him for help in reforming your heart. You see, desiring things, that's not a sin. But coveting, stirring up conflict because of it, that is. So today, ask God for wisdom, and He will give it generously. When we live with godly wisdom, we will win the day.